What you thought was just an ordinary house was built on something far darker than anyone could imagine. The echoes of forgotten train tracks, a room that watches you back, and faces in the window that shouldn't be there. These aren't just stories, they're warnings. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Night Terror X, your home for the most chilling, immersive, true and inspired horror tales from across America. Tonight we're diving into 3 unsettling stories that will make you rethink everything you thought was safe. The house you grew up in, the window you glance at before bed, and even the innocent sound of a snow globe playing on a quiet December night. These aren't your average ghost stories. These are deeply personal accounts of things that should not exist, but somehow do. So turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and whatever you do, don't look behind you. If you enjoy the eerie journey we're about to take, please give this video a like, leave a comment with your own creepy encounters, or email your personal horror stories to nightterror@xinbox@gmail.com. You might just hear your nightmare featured in an upcoming episode. Now, let's begin. The closet in the middle. So I was talking to my cousin Ben one night over beers, just catching up, and out of nowhere he says, "Hey, have you ever felt like your house watches you?" He laughed it off after, but the way he said it stuck with me. I hadn't thought about that place in years, but now I can't stop. 5 years ago, my wife and I bought what we thought was our dream home. A clean, modern 2-story house tucked away in a quiet suburb of Oregon, on the edge of a newly built neighborhood. The place had everything: open-plan kitchen, big backyard, lots of light, and a fully converted attic that had been turned into a bedroom and private bath. It wasn't some creepy crawl space either. Full staircase, real door, dormer window, even a view of the hills. But right from the beginning there was something off. Not the kind of thing you can explain. More like a weight in the air, not heavy, just constant. Like walking into a room that had been quiet too long. My home office ended up upstairs near the attic. From my desk, there was a door just behind me, and to the right. The attic closet. No windows, no light. Just a solid wooden door in the middle of a hallway, surrounded by other rooms. At first, it was just a feeling, an itch in the back of my mind when I sat there too long. Then it started. I'd be working late, and I'd feel something touch my hair. Not like a breeze, like fingers brushing a single strand, always the same spot, right side. At first I thought maybe it was static, or I was imagining it, but it kept happening. So I moved my desk to the other side of the room, a fresh start. Except now, I felt it on my left side. Same sensation, same spot. Always in a straight line from that damn closet. And it wasn't just touch. I started hearing things, voices, soft and layered, like a muffled argument behind a closed door, except it wasn't just one conversation, it was 3. All happening at once. None of them made sense. They never lasted more than a second or 2, but always just long enough to get under my skin. And every time I turned around, it stopped. Completely. I didn't say anything at first. I mean, what do you even say? But then my wife brought it up. She said she couldn't sleep with her back to our closet, the one in the master bedroom, which was located right below the attic closet. Same setup, no windows, same sense of pressure. She said it felt like someone was standing there watching her. I brushed it off, until one night, around 1 a.m., I was shutting down my computer and heading to bed. The hallway outside the bedroom was dim but clear. I passed something without noticing at first, just a darker patch, like a smudge on the air. But something told me to turn around. When I did, it rose. This shape, void black, no edges, no depth, just lifted off the floor and came at me in one smooth motion. It moved through me. I swear I felt the cold slide into my bones. I flinched like I'd just dodged a punch. When I got to the bedroom, I told my wife. Her face went pale. Then she said, "That's exactly what I saw. 2 weeks ago." She hadn't wanted to scare me, so she never mentioned it. She woke up in the middle of the night and saw something standing at the foot of the bed. It didn't move until she sat up. Then it rushed toward her and vanished into the ceiling. We started comparing notes after that. Turns out we'd both been hearing the bedroom shutters open on their own. You know that click when the magnets release? The lights smack as they fold back and hit the wall. We'd hear it downstairs, rush up, and nothing. Always closed, always still. Then the shirts started. At first, it was just hers. 3 tiny holes near the bottom, perfectly spaced in a triangle. Always in the same place, always neat. Not tears, not fabric wear, just missing. I blamed the washing machine, then maybe her seatbelt, or the counter edge when cooking. Until it started happening to my clothes. Same pattern, same spot. We switched cars, nothing changed. Then the bruises. My wife would suddenly notice them on her thighs or upper arms. Big, deep ones. Not the kind you forget bumping into something for. I watched one actually form once right while we were watching TV. I looked down and it was just there. A few nights ago, I saw it again. In the corner of our bedroom, just in the edge of my vision. A distortion, like a sphere of static, sucking in the light around it. The moment I tried to focus, it vanished. What's worse, it's not just upstairs anymore. That side of the room, the one that always felt safe. Now it feels the same as the rest of the house. We've tried to ignore it, hoping it would go away. We haven't called anyone for help. I don't even know what we'd say. It doesn't feel evil, but it feels wrong, like the house is watching, like something in the middle of it is always awake, waiting. So if you ever find yourself moving into a home with a closet smack in the center, no windows, no draft, no reason to feel uneasy, trust your instincts. Some things don't want to be understood. They just want to be there, and they don't like being noticed. Whispers from the landing. So I was texting my cousin Taylor last week, just catching up about life and random dreams we'd had lately. When I told her about the nightmare I'd had the night before, she went totally silent. I described someone trapped inside a wrecked car, screaming for help, while headlights flickered behind shattered glass. The fear in their voice, it was too real, like I wasn't dreaming at all. Then she told me her neighbor's daughter, someone I actually knew from school, was in a serious accident that same night. Her car had flipped coming off a rural highway. She survived, thankfully. But what rattled me most was that the wreck happened less than an hour after my dream. That's when I started thinking, maybe this house is connected to something. Maybe I'm connected to something. Because ever since we moved into this place, things haven't felt quite right. The house was built in 1901. It still has the original bones, creaky floorboards, plaster walls, even some antique fixtures, but it's updated enough that you wouldn't expect anything haunted. Except, maybe you should. The 3rd floor is sealed off. Not legally, just emotionally. My mom's friend, who's deeply spiritual and actually helps people cleanse spaces, refused to go up there. She said something about old sorrow hanging in the beams. I laughed at the time, but I've stopped laughing now, especially after we found a faded document tucked behind the bookshelf upstairs. A death certificate. The man who built the house died here, supposedly peacefully, but no one ever said anything about what came after. Weird things started small. Our cat, Juniper, was the first to notice. She began staring into corners and hissing at nothing. She'd crawl under the couch and stay there for hours, trembling. One night, I was watching TV with her asleep in my lap when I heard the unmistakable sound of the couch cushion sinking, like someone sat down next to me, except no one was there. I didn't move, just watched as Juniper's fur rose and she growled, low and serious. Then slowly, the cushion lifted again, like whatever it was had gotten up and left. By July, I was having the same dream every few nights. I'd wake up paralyzed, with this little girl standing at the foot of my bed, maybe 4, maybe 5 years old. Her hair hung long and jet black, over a face so pale it almost glowed in the dark. She wore a Victorian-style black dress that looked more funeral than fashion. Her eyes, they weren't just lifeless, they were empty. But she didn't feel threatening, more like desperate, like she wanted me to understand something. I never got the message, though, because I'd wake up gasping before she could speak. After the 4th time I had that dream, I went down to our reading room just to calm down. That room is near the stairs leading to the 3rd floor. I was sipping tea when I heard it, the soft, steady sound of dripping. But there were no leaks. I looked up. She was standing halfway up the landing, the same girl from my dreams, same dress, same lifeless stare, just watching me. The moment I reached for my phone to turn on the flashlight, she vanished. Last night was the worst. I'd fallen asleep in this old velvet chair in the upstairs living room, the kind of chair that probably came with the house 100 years ago. It was quiet at first. Then I started hearing a woman's voice, gentle, almost melodic, but I couldn't make out the words. It happened 5, maybe 6 times. Each time it came closer. Then everything went silent, except for this piercing ring in my ears, like the voice had drilled its way into my head. At the same time, the lights above me started flickering, stuttering like they were fighting something invisible. The ringing was so intense I covered my ears, but it didn't help. Then just as suddenly, everything stopped. I went downstairs to sleep beside my boyfriend, hoping I could finally rest. But as I lay there scrolling my phone, I noticed him bolt upright in bed. His chest was heaving like he'd run a mile. I asked what was wrong, but he didn't answer, just looked around the room in complete panic, then lay back down like nothing had happened. 15 minutes later, he did it again. When I asked about it the next morning, he had no memory of it. Nothing. Later that night, I went back to the reading room. I couldn't sleep. Juniper followed me, padding up the 3 steps toward the 3rd floor landing. And then she stopped, dead still. She stared up the staircase, tail puffed, muscles tense. I whispered her name, clapped gently, but she wouldn't look away. Then came that growl again, not scared, angry, protective. Something is living up there, watching us, following us. I don't know what it wants or why it chose this house, but I can't pretend this is all in my head anymore. I've felt it, seen it, dreamed it. And whatever it is, it's not just haunting the house. It's haunting me. The whistle beneath the floorboards. So I was crashing on my cousin Nate's couch a couple weeks back when he said something I'll never forget. We were sipping cheap beer, watching reruns of some late-night cryptid show, when out of nowhere he goes, "You ever feel like some houses remember more than they should?" I laughed at first, thinking he was just being dramatic. But that one sentence, it triggered something in me, something I've tried to ignore for years. See, growing up, I always knew my childhood home wasn't right. I don't mean the creaky wood floors or the old pipes banging in the night. I mean wrong. Like the air in certain rooms felt heavy. Like someone else was always watching from just beyond the doorway. But the story I'm about to tell you isn't even about that house. It's about the one we moved into when I was 6, the one my parents were sure would be a fresh start. No weird dreams, no shadowy corners, just normal. They were wrong. The place was tucked into a quiet neighborhood on the edge of a small New England town, built on land that used to have train tracks running right through it, back in the 1800s. They ripped up the rails and threw up a bunch of houses. Ours was one of them. The oddest part of the house was a cramped middle room with this hideous burnt orange shag carpet, like something straight out of a 70s nightmare. We called it the Orange Room. You had to pass through it to get anywhere. Living room, kitchen, bedrooms. It was unavoidable, and I hated it. From day one, it felt off. At first, everything was quiet. No bad dreams, no whispers in the dark. I even convinced myself that all the weird stuff from our old house had been in my head. But then, when I was around 9, it started. I was sitting cross-legged in the Orange Room, building a Lego tower by the big bay windows when I heard it. A train whistle. It was long, low, and distant, but definitely real. I looked up, expecting to see headlights or smoke, but there was nothing outside. Just our quiet road and leafless trees swaying in the wind. I asked my mom if she heard it. She said it was probably a truck horn. But I loved trains. I knew the difference. I tried to shrug it off, but deep down, I knew better. The Orange Room wanted to be noticed. Then, when I was about 12, something happened that even my mom couldn't explain away. We were all asleep when this crash echoed through the house, like a cabinet full of dishes hitting the floor. My mom shot out of bed and shook my dad awake. He groaned, but followed her to the living room, and what they found still freaks me out. There was this big brass clock above the fireplace, one of those heavy antique ones. Below it on the mantel were family photos and Halloween decorations. The crash we heard, it was the clock. But here's the thing, it didn't fall straight down like gravity intended. It somehow landed 10 feet away, face down in the middle of the room. Nothing on the mantel was disturbed. Not even a picture frame was out of place. The clock had launched itself, like something threw it. After that, it felt like the Orange Room had fully awakened. When I turned 16, I got into the habit of staying up late on weekends, gaming into the early morning hours. One night, around 2:30 a.m., I was shutting everything down when I did my usual glance out the bay window to check if the porch light was off. And I saw it. A face, long and pale, unnaturally stretched, like someone had pulled it downward. It stared at me through the glass, unmoving. I froze for a second, then bolted to my parents' room, babbling about what I saw. My dad grabbed a crowbar and checked everything, outside, inside, even the snow in the yard. No tracks, no signs of anyone. But I know what I saw. It was watching me. After that, more things started happening. Glitches in photos I took in the Orange Room. Like this one Snapchat, where a weird tan figure showed up behind me, even though I was alone. Another selfie had my eyes completely blacked out, like something corrupted the image only in that room. I moved out as soon as I could. The dreams stopped. The tension in my chest disappeared. I figured whatever haunted that place had finally let me go. Until 2 weeks ago. I was back for the holidays, helping my mom decorate for Christmas. We were moving ornaments from one tree to another, and I passed by the orange room. That's when I heard it. A music box melody. The soft, twinkling notes of my mom's old Charlie Brown snow globe. It was faint, but unmistakable. That thing only plays when you twist the bottom dial, with both hands. I spun around and saw it sitting on the shelf, completely still. But the song had just finished. My mom walked in, right then, and saw the look on my face. She asked what was wrong, and I told her what I'd heard. She swore she hadn't touched the globe all day. I asked her when she put it on the shelf. She said it was around 10 a.m. That was 5 hours earlier. There's no way it had just kept spinning. That thing is stiff. You have to really crank it. Something else had started it. That night I couldn't sleep. The orange room felt alive again. I stayed on edge, listening for the whistle, watching the shadows in case that stretched face came back. I keep thinking, what if the wood from the old train tracks, the ones used to build the house, somehow trapped something that didn't want to be forgotten? I don't want to go back, but Christmas is coming, and I know I'll have to step into that room again. If you've ever felt like a room was watching you, really watching you, then maybe you know what I'm talking about. And if not, be careful where you live. Some houses remember, and some rooms never forget.